Welcome to Conspiracy in Real Time, the greatest show on earth. I am your medicated and unregulated host, Joshua Stonecutter. When I say medicated, I mean medicated on THC. I don't mean medicated on all these psych meds that they have people on. You are under mind control. You are under mind control. I don't really know how else to put it to you. But I do want to make it clear when I say, oh yeah, I'm coming to you super medicated, that I'm not all blasted out on like opiates or benzos or amphetamines or something like that. The people who are involved with this stuff, the people who are perpetrating this stuff, they would very much like you to think that there is something horribly, horribly wrong with me. That, I'm schizophrenic, right? Oh yes, that Joshua Stonecutter, he's a paranoid schizophrenic. Paranoid schizophrenic is a code from one person in the SS to another. All that means is treat that person like they're paranoid schizophrenic. They found that you can actually get your own brain to turn against you. You can actually get your own brain to basically like attack you. And that's what they have tried to do with me, in addition to discrediting me. I mean, it's at the point now, like legally with the state of Florida, to where I'm pretty sure if I went into like a police station and told them that I witnessed a murder, I don't know if they would do anything about it. And you guys think that I'm exaggerating? That I'm not. I'm not exaggerating. And the reason I think this is because I already have gone to the police and I already have told them about people's lives being ended, which would look like, something very mischievous and nefarious happened, right? Case closed. They closed the case after I told them about it. All right, let's go over the tracks, and then we're going to get into the topic. This is the topic today. The topic is, I'm just getting warmed up. That's the topic. All right, so let's go over our tracks. Platypus Records. We got 2 tracks on Platypus. We're going to have Platypus tracks going for days. We're going to do Platypus through Christmas. It's going to be Platypus Christmas here. All right, so the name of the track that we got here is Vicious Circles. Vicious Circles. And we have Grayed Out remix and Max Graham, who's awesome. Max Graham remix. Max Graham, I featured one of his... I featured a record that was all the tracks from Max Graham's Transport, and it was a double vinyl. I featured that vinyl on here not that long ago, so that's where you might recognize the name Max Graham from. All right, here we have Steve Gibbs, Electronicat. That's the name of the track, Electronicat. We have a Van Bellen remix, and then we have the original mix, which of course is by Steve Gibbs. Both of these tracks are on Platypus Records. Platypus Records, really solid. A lot of their stuff in the sound department sometimes was a little bit too trebly and there was a little bit too much highs going on in a lot of their tracks. And so but like overall, the production quality of Platypus is incredible. Platypus is just an amazing label, you guys. And some of the best tracks that, are dropped at the best times were on Platypus. I know a lot of artists that have produced tracks on Platypus and we'll get to those tracks, in a couple days whenever we happen upon them. You would always hear Platypus, there's these times in the rave culture, there are these times in the clubs, and I'm sure this still happens in New York and, Miami for sure, right? Like, the clubs usually open around 11 or midnight, but there's this time around like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, usually around 3 a.m. Like, because all the bars stop serving alcohol at 2. So people usually stop drinking at around 2, right? And maybe so around 2:30, 3 o'clock was usually the time when the dance floor was just like epic. That was like when the dance floor was just going off, from like 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. That's when you would hear the Platypus tracks. That's when you would hear the Bedrock tracks. And it's interesting, knowing all this stuff that I know now about the drilling and all this stuff underground, I'm wondering how much of a cover these big clubs were, because, I'm wondering how much of a cover these big clubs were for underground going-ons. maybe that had a lot to do with them being around in the first place, you know, to cover up and hide like drilling and things like that. It's totally possible. I'm just putting it out there, you know. There is a direct connection between the club that I grew up going to, which is Simon's. It's still open today. This is why my show is called Conspiracy in Real Time and not Conspiracy Theories, right? Simon's is open right now. And there's a rooftop to Simon's. That place was awesome. And I like partied down there like hardcore probably about 10 times, right? I've been there many times, more times than I can remember. But like as far as like the epic party times that I'll never forget, there was about 10 of them. I know it's a lot, but there was about 10 of them at Simon's. And like we would go there around midnight. We would eat a bunch of and like we would leave around 7 or 8 in the morning. And having had just an amazing night, dancing, you know, and the sound systems were just incredible. But we're right next to the University of Florida, and and you would think that you know, I never really cared too much or thought too much about the fact like where is all this MDMA coming from? You know what I'm saying? Like, because every like other week or every couple weeks or every month it would be like there would always be like different batches of pills around, and they always had stamps on them. The most popular one back in the day was the Mercedes. That was like the Mercedes-Benz. I mean, like it makes sometimes I get goosebumps just talking about this stuff, you guys. That's how good and strong these pills were back in the 90s. And that being said, they're making them that way again now. You just have they're making them, I believe, in Europe. I mean, because you have to understand that I was dabbling around on the Silk Road for a while. This was years ago, like 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. I was dabbling around on the Silk Road, the very first Silk Road, the very first thing on the darknet, right? And I started getting these pressed pills that were like, you know, 200 milligrams a piece. 250 milligrams a piece. It's like you couldn't even eat a whole one of these. And that's like the pills were back in the day when we were going to Simon's. Oops, sorry, on my camera. Anyway, sorry I kind of went on a rant there. I don't know why I was talking about so much. I guess because like this is what I was getting ready to say. When I was doing like every time it was very different. Do you see what I'm saying? Like sometimes it was straight MDMA, but then other times it was MDMA and then other stuff, and then other times it was just like not MDMA. It was something else entirely. And so it just begs the question, where was all this stuff coming from? You know what I'm saying? And there's all these connections throughout our recent history, our short history in our country. There's all these connections with our government, the CIA experimenting on everybody with drugs and in connection with mind control and music. So like I'm starting to think like all these noises and frequencies and stuff that like I think they're actually probably doing things to you and to your body when you're listening to them. And I believe that the rave club that I grew up going to in Gainesville, Florida, which was called Simon's, I think it was multi-purpose, you know? And I'm not saying that the owner knew anything about it, because Simon is a friend of mine. I know Simon. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Simon is a part of any of this or anything like that. And I'm not implying that. But what I am saying is that it's very possible, because Simon just opened up a club. He just wanted to have a club where people could come and dance, right? And he really liked electronic music. But what I'm saying is that it's very possible that people at the University of Florida and three-letter agencies use places like Simon's and the Edge down in Fort Lauderdale as a place to like really start tweaking, you know, some of these substances that they've been messing with, you know, because having done MDMA and MDA a ton of times, like I've done it probably over 500 times, maybe 1,000 times, I don't know. I can say that a lot of times it's been different. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's more speedy. Sometimes it's more couchy, like meaning like you want to like sit down more and stuff. Sometimes you just want to dance the whole time. So like, you know, I don't know. You know, I really don't know. But it would make sense that that there was some kind of experimenting going on in addition to just partying. I mean, you have to understand that like going to these, having the opportunity to go to a party like this in your hometown, in your own town, if you grew up in a big city, you know what it's like. But I thought everybody had this in their city. Do you see what I'm saying? Because Gainesville was not a big city. It was not like a major metropolitan area. So I assume that every single city in America, even the smaller ones, they all had these rave clubs in them, and people came from all around and partied all night, and they had like amazing sound systems and stuff. It wasn't until I started traveling, even just around Florida, that I saw that some of the bigger cities like Jacksonville and Tampa didn't have a club that was like as cool as Simon's in Gainesville, you know? In fact, there's only been one club that I've ever been to in my life that I would say compared to Simon's in Gainesville, and that was this club called Love in New York, and it was an underground club. It was down underneath the ground. I talked about it on previous episodes. I think the DJ from Thrill Kill Cult, is that right? I think it was the DJ from Thrill Kill Cult or something like that that was DJing there that night. He was playing like really hard house, hard hitting trance. Anyways, you know, maybe it's good that I went on that rant, because the topic today is I'm just getting warmed up, you know? And like something that I started doing when I started DJing was like I started DJing for like 8-10 hours at a time. There was this one time my friend Shane and I did a tag team set where we were like trading off DJing on and off for over 24 hours. There was a time where me and some friends DJ'd in my bedroom. There was like 4 or 5 of us rotating around on the turntables for like a couple days. And that was like very frequent. Like when DJs would get together, we would start going through our new tracks. We'd start getting effed up and talking and having fun and dancing and listening to music. And that's what I did, you guys, from like from around 1998 until, you know, probably like 2010, 2012. Virtually all I did was just dance and do stuff that had to do with techno music and electronic music. And I never felt like I was trying to escape anything. There was no horrible memories that I was trying to get away from, or so I thought, right? I was partying to celebrate this beautiful life that the good Lord had given me, to celebrate the friends that I had, my family. But there was always something that was off or wrong. It was like, it wasn't that I couldn't enjoy it. It was that outside circumstances something would always happen. There would always be negative consequences. Do you see? And I'll be the first to say, a lot of the time, those negative consequences were 100% me. But in hindsight, and now knowing everything that I do, man, I was getting set up and effed with all along the way. All along the way. That's why my DJ career didn't make any sense to me. It was like totally backwards. Like the first couple gigs I had were one of the first big gigs I had was in Simon's on Halloween night. It was like I was so happy and stoked, and you know. But in hindsight, like my quote unquote friends and my girlfriend at the time gaslighted me and did all this other stuff, and like I basically DJ'd and just went home afterwards. It wasn't, the experience of DJing was fun, but that night was like ruined for me. Like, and that was a reoccurring theme. Like friends and girlfriends would see to it that they would, and you have to understand, for years and years, you guys, I would make excuses for my friends, and I would just write everything off and say, no, they're just effed up, or you know what I'm saying? They're not messing with me. I never even thought once, or it never even occurred to me that these people might be intentionally setting me up and totally effing with me. It never occurred to me that the women I was dating might be in some kind of like cult or something. I never thought about that. That thought never crossed my mind. I thought these were organic friendships, organic relationships that just formed naturally. But knowing what I know now I know I have never had a real friend. I've never had a legit friend. I just never have. And the way my parents raised me, like, my thinking is so backwards as far as what to look for in terms of like a good person or a friend. But okay, so the topic is I'm just getting warmed up, right? As you can tell from watching my show, I have energy, all right? And now that I'm working on my own time, like I decide when and where I work, and I can work anywhere in Florida, I'm like doing a good job with my days, you guys. I've started working out again. I shouldn't say again. I started exercising. I've never exercised, okay? I used to work out and play sports when I was younger, and I've always been really tall. Because I worked out and played sports when I was younger, my body's always been kind of naturally fit. And so ever since I was a kid, I just kind of skated by on being a tall, thin guy. And it's like I look like it's possible. This is how I've always looked at my body's looked. It's like it looks to look at me. It's like it looks like, you know, I might work out. I could, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely not in bad shape, you know? Oh, he probably rides a bike or he probably swims or something. But really, I've never done anything. Now I'm exercising. I'm getting up early, you guys. I'm getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. And like, I'm not drinking at all. Obviously, I'm not doing any drugs, but I am smoking a ton of weed. With the DJing, you guys, we would purposely push ourselves to the limit because we were having so much fun. It was like a lot of times it wasn't that I was doing more drugs because I wanted to get more effed up. It was that I was enjoying myself so much at that moment that I wanted to like do some of whatever so I could just continue to stay up and enjoy myself. It was all about friendships and dancing and everything. But let me tell you, and I know people say this in recovery and people talk crap all the time. I was usually the last person standing if I could help it. There were times, you guys, where I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be the person that parties the most. I was never that guy. I was the smart person who was like, I can always take more. Don't give me too much. I can always take more, right? But like, you guys, what I'm saying is this. My whole life, I've been like doing stuff my own way. And I've been doing it like with maximum endurance, okay? This goes back to like me mountain biking excessively, and I was almost addicted to mountain biking when I was younger because I was trying to get out of my house. I just didn't know why, because I didn't know that I was being sexually abused. I didn't know. My subconscious knew, but my conscious mind had no idea. So I used to ride for hours and hours and hours, 15, 20 miles a day like it was nothing, you know? And I'm not saying I'm like big and hardcore or I'm stronger than you or anything like that. But what I'm telling you is this stuff that started happening when I started waking up to what was going on around me with the relationships I was in and the girls that were being sent in to date me and the group stalking stuff that is going on over in St. Petersburg right now in Clearwater. That was like 2 years ago. This stuff has taken over like almost all aspects of my life. And there was a point just recently where there's been many points, you guys. There's been so many points along the way where I have felt like just completely and totally giving up. I mean 100% giving up. And every single person I've gone to for help or assistance on this subject, on this matter, has set me up to fail and has messed with me. I'm only 41 years old. These people are getting older. Like, I haven't even started. This is what I'm trying to tell. Like, I'm just getting warmed up. And I mean it. Like, I'm just getting warmed up. This is just beginning. Do you see what I'm saying? We haven't even started talking about all the troll phone calls that I get to make, that we get to make. You as a viewer can take the information. You need to see what the situation that you're in as a viewer, because I'm being shadow banned. That doesn't mean you're being shadow banned. So like, you can take this information that I have and just do what I'm doing. Say the stuff, repeat what I'm saying. Get in contact with me, get some facts, and then start your own YouTube show. We haven't even started talking about all the troll calls, you guys, all the prank phone calls that I'm going to be able to make. Check this out, you guys. All the calls that we can make to architects, all the calls that we can make to pastors, all the calls that we can make to real estate agents. I mean, you guys, in real estate agents, like, just think about real estate agents. I mean, just saying real estate agent makes me smile. And I'm sure that you as a viewer probably are like, oh yeah, real estate agents. Why is it that we want to mess with them so bad? I don't know. Well, I mean, I do know now. I know now why. Because these real estate agents, the ones that are like in the SS, they're selling these houses knowing full well, oh yeah, this is a portal house. Oh yeah, this is where the holiest of holy room is. Here's the pillars out front, sir. This is the room where you can like do the R word to little kids if you want. Sure, I'll gladly show you around. That's why I want to. That's why I want. That's why I have a problem with the real estate agents, because they know about all this stuff. They know about the portals and everything. Mayors, we can call mayors, and let's not forget about these YouTube personalities as well, you guys. We got Dustin Nemos, we got Jordan Sather, and then the big boy himself, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has a portal house. I promise you. I promise you. I'd bet my entire paycheck on it. I would bet this entire campaign that I'm working right now, all the money I'm going to make on this campaign in Florida, which is like probably over 20 grand. I bet all that money. I bet all that money that Joe Rogan has a portal house. I promise you. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. I promise you he has a portal house. And I'll be able to tell you if he does just by looking at the front of it. Just by looking at the front of it. Because that's how smart I am. Look, I'm not kidding. Like, that's what I figured out. And that's what I know. I can tell by looking at the fronts of these houses. And after saying what I said on my show yesterday about these big pieces of rock that you can find, look, if you're in Florida, if you're near any coast, go drive around a couple blocks from the beach. On the east coast of Florida or on the west coast of Florida, it doesn't matter. And you're going to see these big pieces of coquina rock that are like basically old coral, basically. You know what I'm saying? It's the ground of Florida. You know, it's all made of this stuff, supposedly, right? You'll see these big pieces. You'll see huge chunks of them with machine drilled holes in them. Look, if they just had a hole in it drilled because they were drilling a septic tank, then the thing would still be in the ground. Why'd they pull the whole rock out? You're going to find houses that are finished and complete and the people moved in, and then all of a sudden there's going to be these rocks appearing out front or out back. Huh, isn't that strange? That you just have these boulders that you're just like lugging out of your house. What's going on in there? This is what I'm seeing with my own eyes, you guys. This is what I'm seeing with my own eyes. And if you want to be popular on the internet, you want to have a good YouTube show, you want to have a good TikTok show, you want something to talk about, yo, man, link up with me. Come on down here. I'll show you. I don't have a monopoly on this stuff. And it seems like it doesn't matter what I do or say. Do you see what I'm saying? Because if they were going to like come along and murder me, it would have happened a long time ago. Trust me. Believe that. It would have happened a long time ago. So they keep jockeying and trying to use me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how this all works into that. But at some point, they're going to have to figure it out. And I'm going to have to figure it out. How is all this going to play out? You know? Because this is, and I'm going to say this again. I feel like I need to say this every episode. If the pastor at Creekside Community Church in Gainesville, if Robert, the person I call Robert, or the person that I call Mother, whose name is Nora Joyce. Her name is Nora Joyce. Nora Joyce. My father's name's Robert. Rob Earth. You guys, like, look. What I'm saying is, and what I need to say every episode, and I'm going to say it again now, is that if they would have compartmentalized my problems, which I was trying to get them to do. You have to understand that I have seen the bigger picture as this stuff is happening. I've been totally clueless. Do you see what I'm saying? But as I've discovered things, it's been working like a backwards jigsaw puzzle for me. And what I'm trying to tell you is there was a time when I came to the people at Creekside. And there was a time when I came to the people at the chapel and the Christian Study Center. And I came to Nora and Robert. And I said, hey, I got a problem. You know, there's this girl who I'm dating. And it looks like she's some kind of like, you know, spy or computer hacker or something. And there's a device installed in my Mustang. You know, there's in different parts of the country. I think she had people following her around, or we had people following us around. I don't know which, you know. And there was a lot more, right? There was the hand signaling that I wanted, right? there was what I'm trying to say is this: if they would have said, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Like, let us help you," which is what my pastor at Creekside originally jockeyed to do. That was his first move. Was like, he said, after I talked to him, and it was like a 2-hour conversation, what Steve said to me was, "I'm going to talk with my friend in the FBI, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to help you." Well, 2 weeks later, all he says, sends me a text on that subject is he doesn't want to be involved. But if they would have compartmentalized my problems and we could have just focused on the ex-girlfriend and her husband and like whatever dirty little games they're playing out there in Lake County, they could have like, it could have been like handled and settled. But this is the thing. When I was going to talk to them, and when I was talking to them about Kathy, and when I was talking to them about all this stuff, I knew that it wasn't just like a lone wolf. I knew that I wasn't just telling them about this girl and her husband and the nefarious things going on in Lake County. Because I had been traveling around the country in a car, and I'd been staying in hotels all over the country during COVID. And there's some things that didn't stop at all, that just kept going during the virus. And one of those things was the stuff that's happening in the hotels. So what I saw was like all the regular travel, all the normal like people that are like leisurely traveling, all of that stopped, but I was still traveling. And all this stuff was going on with the girl that I was dating. And it was obvious that she knew these people that were following us around. She was signaling to them and doing sign language at them and stuff, man. It was scary. It was scary, none of this stuff scares me anymore. But there was a time where, it really was making my blood pressure rise. I'm not going to lie. It really was. And I would have to meditate and pray and meditate and pray and smoke a lot of ganja. So if they would have helped me, right? If they would have devoted some time and resources towards helping me then, I probably would have never turned my focus towards the church. And there's this really big part of me that is always going to wonder, what of this stuff was I supposed to see? What of this stuff